Lule Tairascha Shashui, as a Vadati Boini. Nothing else to say. So we have to learn. We have to learn. It's a borrow that if we're here already, if we're already here, so then obviously that's Shemayim that we're supposed to be here now. Some stomach, there's a Lule Tairascha Shashui, as a Vadati Boini. So let's try Bez Hashem to get through the Klalim today of Basis. So the interesting shaila, somebody brought me on Erev Shabbos something which apparently is quite popular. It's a kettle. It's a kettle. This is probably the first time we'll discuss this kettle. Maybe we'll discuss it a different time. There's a different aspect. It's a kettle. What's a kettle? A kumkum. What's a kumkum? What's a kumkum? Like a kettle. How do the Americans say kettle? No, but not an urn, because it's like a kettle that it's not chainik. Chainik is not electric. It's like an electric chainik. It's an electric chainik. How's that? So it's Nishta Samovar. Samovar is an urn. It's an urn. Okay, it's very good. We got through all the languages. No, Rabbi Markowitz, how do you say it in Swahili? Something like that. Anyways, I have this. So the kettle, it's apparently become quite a popular thing. It has a clip on the bottom that for Shabbos you could just use it, and it has a clip on the bottom. So somebody on Erev Shabbos brought it to me, and he asked me, does he have to teufel it? There's one question he had. And then he asked me, B'chlal, it's, he could use it for Shabbos or not. What's the shaila? Mamish a big shaila of muksa. Big shaila of muksa. Over there they have a hechsher from Tzomet. So Tzomet you can't rely on. Maybe I shouldn't say that in public, but I just did. But you can't rely on them. It's certainly not for anything of that has to do with Torah and Yiddishkeit. And so you can't rely on their hechsher. And they say that you don't have to teufel it, and they say you don't have to, you can actually use it on Shabbos. Now, it's not the pshat that if they said it's mutter, it can't be mutter. It's possible that by mistake they got it right. That's the only question. So probably not supposed to say things like that in public, but I just did. But Akapanim, what's Lemaisa, the Shaila? What's the Shaila? The Shaila with the teufling, it's not our sugya. It's very complicated because in China, everything's complicated in China, but it's very complicated who owns what in China. It says that they claim that the mashgiach over there, he owns, he buys out whichever ones, the breira, are the ones that they're going to sell to the Jews. And those are the ones that don't need to be teufelled now because he owns it. Because if a Jew owns something when it's being made and manufactured, so then that's considered not a problem. You don't need to do tefillas kalim. The Jew is the one that made it. The Jew is the one that pashaft, he created it. So then you don't need to teufel it. Anything a Jew makes, you don't need to teufel. So they claim that the mashgiach, he made a kinyan on any of the kalim that are going to be sold to, let's say, to Eretz Yisrael or whatever. So well, no, let me just, it's not tefillas kalim. I'm just telling you what they say. I'm just telling you what they say. The Maisa, they mitzad breira, he says this breira, and that whichever ones they wind up buying are the ones that he owns originally. Whatever. It's complicated. What makes it more complicated is there's no such thing in China. In Chinese law, which doesn't exist, but in Chinese law, there's no such thing. China owns everything. That's how it works. And the marshal, what would happen if those items would break on the assembly line? So then it would mysteriously say that those weren't the ones I bought. Because it doesn't work like that. You can't own anything in China. Whoever does know what I'm talking about, good. Whoever doesn't know is even better. I see you're not in business. So, but you can't own things in China, which is why it's very complicated to believe if these things really are owned by a Jew at the shlav of the manufacturing. Is that what you were asking? That's it? What? Another what? You're saying therefore it's okay, therefore it's not okay? It could be that. No, it doesn't work like that. There are people that just want it to be working. Okay, whatever. Everybody says it's not our sugi. It's not our sugi. Okay, it's not our sugi. Tachlis, I don't understand that somebody there can own something. If the little bit that I know, it's not really so shaykh that somebody should own something, which makes it into a bigger problem. And therefore, mitzat feels kalim. It's a big truth is, everybody says, the truth is these things with as long as they're not digital, you can put them in a mikveh, you put them on the roof to dry for a few days, and then they dry, and then there's no problem. I've done it with all of my kettles, and I've never had an issue. Okay, but that's a side problem. But the other issue is, what about muksa? So they say it's not muksa. What they're saying, Mechan, it's not it's beyond the scope of, it's probably bittul Torah, so I won't go into it. But what could be the tztadim? What could be the tztadim? The tztadim could be something like this. The tztadim could be, there's a tshuva from the Goyim Shlomo Zalman. I'm really talking about this now because it's something that we did learn. It's something we didn't learn. So I'll focus more on what we did learn, and then Mitzvah Shem and Andra will come back to it. Shlomo Zalman in Shulchan Shleima in Dalid, I wrote here maybe Shintes Iv Dalid. He says that an urn is muksa. He's talking about an urn, a regular urn, a samovar, by Irwin. He's talking about an emistic, a samovar. Samovar has on the bottom a red hot coil, a heating element, which is a fire. For all intents and purposes, like you can't move around your hot plate. A hot plate, of course, is a muksa. And a hot plate is a muksa, pashtas, we take on a muksa machmas gufay, that you can't move not l'tzarech gufay, not l'tzarech mekaymai. Now, this is something that we did not learn yet. There's a very big fight. When you have, we know that for whatever reason, I keep on saying, obviously, a fire is a muksa machmas gufay. We don't necessarily know yet why. It's not something that we learned here. It's a very big fight why. It's the most usable kli in the world, fire. Fire is a wonderful kli. But for whatever reason, that's mefurish in the Gemara, that fire is a muksa machmas gufay. This generated a tremendous world war. What's the reason why a fire is a muksa machmas gufay? Some achreinim, including Rosh Shlomo Zalman, they go with ashkafa, that we don't know why. And therefore, it's like a gzeres hakosef. Fire has a din of a muksa machmas gufay. So since fire has a din of a muksa machmas gufay, anything that has a din of fire also has a din of a muksa machmas gufay. Right? Everybody say. Anything that has a din of a fire also has a din of a muksa machmas gufay. What's an afkamina? A hot plate. A hot plate is a fire, right? A hot plate, for all intents and purposes, to turn on a hot plate on Shabbos, according to all the poskim that ever lived and ever should live, that's Issa Deraisa of Havara. This has nothing to do with the electricity, Shaila, because here the electricity is being mafal and eish. Chaim Oizer would make a Bari Maria eish on something that was a red hot coil on an incandescent light, because that's a real eish. So whether you understand or not, but that, whatever the reason is of a fire is muksa. So many achrayim went with that approach, or Shlomo Zalman included, that a fire, even in a form of a kli, that's what I'm coming to explain. Even a fire in the form of a kli has a din of a muksa machmas gufa. The idea being that nobody really understands why a fire is muksa. So if you don't understand why a fire is muksa, so then you also don't understand why anything, So whatever has a din of fire, Chazal gave a din muksa, maybe there's reasons why, who knows. That's one approach. Others don't take that approach. And Mitzvah Shem, we have to learn this in Reishayin Tess. It's a whole sig of Shalhevis. Others say that no, fire is a muksa. Dayenu, if we do understand it or we don't understand it, but something that's fashioned into a kli. So then a hot plate will be a kli shemlach l'yeser maybe. But it's a kli nonetheless. And that's a fight. That's a world war. Not enough community. Could you move a hot plate? Very in the gay case, right? Could you move a hot plate? Many achrayim take on the hashkafa that it's aser. And I think Moshe, we'll have to say the names and faces at a different time, but some take on its mutter. I'm going in order to say this shaila with the achrayim that take on the shita that it's a muksa machmas gufay. Otherwise, nothing starts. If the you take on that the fire inside an urn is a part of a kli, and if you buy up the fire, the hot coil inside of the urn is considered a kli. So then, of course, it'll be the best it'll be, the worst it'll be is a kli shemlach l'yeser. So kli shemlach l'yeser will be matal tzar guf mekaymai. They have it clipped on. I'll be able to pick it up and pour the water out of it, and that's gevaldik. And kozman the water's in it, it'll be like a cholent pot. That when the food is inside of it, it's b'chlan muksa. So that's. I'm not going with that approach. Because it could be one day we'll come back to that. I don't want to be misunderstood. There is a tzad here. And maybe that's what they go with. I don't know. But there is a tzad here that the whole shayla fights nishtan and that it's mutter gomer. I'm going that if you take on that an urn has a red hot coil and that's a muksa machmas gufay. Now the question is that when something's a muksa machmas gufay, do we say that when there's water in the urn or something like that, that maybe now I could look at it as one entity and maybe perhaps it's a different child. Does everybody understand what I just did? You don't understand what I said? Yeah, what's that? That's another thing. But it won't help me so much that, because I also won't know later on if when I'm picking it up, it's on. And that's for sure. It's all these are part of the nidainim. There's another nidin, klape, shahia and chazara. There are lots of nidainim over here with this thing. But it won't make so much of enough community, because you're right, that would only help us. I was trying to be more machmir. In other words, what you're trying to say is that luyitzur, let's say I go with those shitas that say it's gufay, okay? So now it would also become a migud diskatzai. So he's saying, so wait, So now, but maybe Taka was on the whole Ben Hashmashis, and therefore even if it's off later on, it probably goes on and off, but even if it's off, it'll be big as Katsai. But it's not going to make a difference, even, no matter which way you cut it. Maybe you'll say it wasn't on during Ben Hashmashis. There was a part of Ben Hashmashis it wasn't on, so it wasn't big as Katsai. But I don't know now when I'm picking it up if it's on or it's off. It's not possible to know if it's on or off. And therefore, maybe it is. I don't know. You have to know if there's a light there, but I'm assuming that there's not. And I decide that's why it's for sure. For us, it's a problem. We don't know what's going on in there. So therefore, with the tzad, that it's considered a kli, dainu, it's considered, that's considered a muktzah machmas gufay. On that tzad, is there any difference now that there's water inside? That's the shayla. So, you look in the Shlomo Zalman in Shintes Sif Dalet, and he says that an urn is muktzah, right? It's interesting. They say a lot of their psakim are based on Rav Shlomo Zalman, but it's he goes Rav Shlomo Zalman with the mahalach that a fire in a coil form is also muktzah. He goes with that type of approach. We don't understand why fire is muktzah, so therefore you have to take on that anything that's a fire. He's not saying that anything that's electric you have to take on as a fire. He's taking on anything that's a fire, a coil, like a red hot coil. For example, I didn't say anything yet about a lead light. A lead light is by no means a fire. So there we have to see. Maybe a lead light could be, according to everybody, will only be a kli shemalach b'li iser and won't be a muktzah machmas gufay. But if you have something which is a red hot coil, like in a hot plate, Rosh Hashanah goes with that approach, that it's considered taka muktzah machmas gufay, and you can't move it down the tzarek gufay, not tzarek mekaymai. In that same tshuva, in that shulchan shleima, Rosh Hashanah seems to take on the mahalach. I mean, this is what I understood over there. He takes on the mahalach that an urn is muktzah, and that it doesn't help that it has the water in it. It doesn't explain so much why. I guess the lumdus is that the kli, it's like having a hot plate. Is anyone going to say that if I have a hot plate and on the hot plate is my pots and my food and my this, so I can move the hot plate, because what am I moving? I'm moving a davar mutter and a davar aser. That's probably ludicrous, right? Because you can't pick up muktzah. You can't hold something muktzah and say, okay, I'll pick up a stone and I'll put on top of the stone something mutter, and I'll hold the stone, and now I can hold the davar mutter because I'm holding the stone. It's ludicrous, right? What we've always talked about was the opposite direction. We're holding the davar mutter, and maybe you have something aser on top or whatever. Here's the opposite. You're holding the davar aser, so of course that would be aser. That's what Shlomo Zalman takes on. Why an urn, even with the water, you gain nothing. That's what Shlomo Zalman says. Sorry? Come again? There's a concept of kikar v'tinik over here, right? Exactly. No, there is a concept of a kikar v'tinik. You have a mace, and when you put a kikar v'tinik on the mace, so then that becomes mutter. So obviously that means it's only by a mace, and it's by no other muktzah. And that's exactly what the Chazal said, that the only time that you ever have the heter is by a mace, which means that would be a good example. Over here, if you appreciate that an urn is an evil muktzah, it's a muktzah that you can't move, not tzarek guf, not tzarek mekayma. So when you put something on top, you can't take a kikar v'tinik and put it inside an evil muktzah. Dvarim pshutim. Now, the only thing is that there's a mincha shleima that sounds not like this in the 14th volume, in the 14th siman, in Ois Aleph, in Dibra Maschel Ata. He there sounds not like I'm saying, and it's a hard shtickle. And I told you I'm not going to go into today. I just want to give you the svaras klape, what we spoke about, what might be able to just what to think about, at least what to think about. There's a few svaras here that come out. You could maybe look at it that there's different ways to say it. One way you say it is maybe you could look at it like this. Listen closely. Maybe you could look at it. We said as far as the other day of who's being mishamish who when we were trying to convey the shame buses. We're trying to figure out who is mishamish who, right? You have a rock on a paper, so then the paper is not holding up the rock. The rock is holding down the paper. So the rock, we said, was serving the paper. So therefore, we said that the rock doesn't make the paper muktzah. That's ridiculous. Because the paper is not the holder of the muktzah. So therefore, I'm fakir. You're serving me. So therefore, I'm not tuffle to you, you're tuffle to me. So therefore, if I cared, you'd be able to take out the paper like we explained the other day. Maybe if that type of lumdus is true by buses, it's for sure true. The shal is how far do you take that? Can I say that an urn is worthless without the water? Maybe when I look at an urn, the way I misyakis to an urn is I look at an urn, meaning, I'll explain. A hot plate is an item unto its own. You put inside, you turn it on, and then you put on top the items. That's that's why it's two separate items. We look at it two separate items. Maybe someone will come along, they'll say chiddush. An urn is something that you never turn on the urn until you put water in. So like kivyachol, just like you understand, one of the things needed for the urn is electricity to get the juices flowing. Another thing needed for the urn is water to put inside. So maybe I look at the water as a part of the chefts of the urn. It's chedushim. I'm saying this is chedushim. And if you would say that, so then I could go maybe even to the next shlav. And I could say, wait, so who's serving who? Who's serving who? when I pick up this urn, the urn is serving the water. The urn is kiviyachol bottled to the water because without the water, the urn you wouldn't be mafil. That's kiviyachol maybe as far as a person could have said, and then maybe even you could say it becomes somewhat of like a basis davar aser and mutter. It becomes it's the holder of the kli of the heating element, and it's also the holder of the water, and that becomes a davar aser, davar mutter, and the mutter is more important. The water, because water you need for Shabbos. These are all weird svaras. They're all weird because if you think about it, what we spoke about when we discussed buses has nothing to do with this. When we were discussing buses, for example, the case of the rock. So the rock is being shamish, the piece of paper. So therefore, it's not going to be that the paper is bottled to the rock. It's that the rock will be bottled that way. Here, it's a little bit hard to be mechalik. I'm holding now a kli, which you established that this kli is a muksagamar, it's a fire. This kli is a fire. So now, together with this kli, I'm holding water. So how could you look at it as one entity? It's true, I can't turn on the kli until I put in the water. But so what? Why does that take away the fact that, let's say I would have something which was muksa, and the only way to pick up the mutter item was by picking up the muksa. It's a little bit hard to understand these svaras, I must tell you. And therefore, I'm not convinced. I think the only svara that you'd be able to go with over here would be the svara that maybe if you're going to take on that an urn is not that an urn's a kli and that it's not an evil muksa. But that's a different sugya. So Allah l'maisa, if you don't move an urn on Shabbos, which it seems to be that's where Shalom Tam and Zikr Shita was, that you don't move an urn, so then this is no different. That's what's a very important thing. Basically, it's a little bit of a trick. When you look, most people think you're not allowed to move an urn on Shabbos. Most people think. If you think you're not allowed to move an urn on Shabbos, there's nothing different about this thing that has a handle. The fact that they put a handle there doesn't make anything different. It's not the pshat. An urn also is something that I want to move toward me sometimes because it's in an inconvenient place. So if you didn't move an urn until now, this thing's not different. Now it could be that we'll get to the sugya of keli and we'll establish that a fire is a muksa machmas gufay, but a coil is not a muksa machmas gufay. But here, these svaras, I don't see how. Again, my point is like this: the svaras we spoke about were svaras when you're trying to be convey if somebody's a bassist and the other guy's not. But to be conveyed that it's one item, nobody dreamed of making a water and an urn into one item. It's just hard to understand. I don't understand it. What? What do you say? So he was making on the whole thing. He's making on the whole thing. That's okay. There could, what? Okay, there could be. I'm saying it could be. There's a tzad to say, not like I'm saying, there's a tzad to say that the entire urn is mutter. It's sad to say that the urn, the ganze urn in general is mutter. Dahainu, it's a klish ma'akal yeser, and that the most status that we give it. The only thing is that what? Even if it's muksa ma'akal skufay, but the water is so overpowering that it's that what? Okay, there's a big chiddush there. There's a very big chiddush there. There's a big chiddush. I'm just telling you, there is a story out there like that. There's a story out there like that. That kemoy that the cholent in the pot is the yikr. And therefore it's all bottled to the food. So therefore the urn is bottled to the water. The chiddush being that there was a klish ma'akal yeser, a cholent pot. Mashagin here, it's not just a klish ma'akal yeser, it's a muksa ma'akal skufay, but it's bottled to the ikr purpose. My point is one point. My point is that svara could be emes. But those svaras have nothing to do with these svaras of who's being mishamish. The svaras that we're saying about being mishamish are svaras in basis. They're not svaras over here. Listen, if a person wants to know, is there a makom to be makel? He says, Rafalk is makel. Is there a makom to be makel? I'm telling you, there's Shlomo Zalman in one of his chuvas. Sounds like he'd be makel on this svara. And there's another svara over here that I told you in the first place. It could be that the urn has a din of a klisha ma'akal yisr and doesn't have a din of an evil muksa. So therefore, for sure, is a makom to be makel. So there's a makom to be makel. The only question is it like, is it lichatchila to be doing something like this every single Shabbos? And to buy such an item, which is saynach on this. That's the only shayla, but there definitely is a makom to be makel. And it could be that maybe one day we'll come back to it, Mitzvah Shem, and we'll have a little bit more of a bit of a mahalach. Come again. Yes, and then what's the shayla? That's a good question. You're saying it's one big thing. So I guess it'll be tilted b'mixas. And till the mixes, we said it's mutter, like the Feast of Shabbos, it's davar mutter for the water. But I like the kasha. What? No, but that's weird because it's not a kli. He's saying because this is a kli. It's a kli. What? No, he's talking about what? What? I'm not sure. That also might be tilted mixes. We spoke about that. That also might be tilted mixes. It's interesting shayla. It's like interesting shayla. Okay, there's Ray that maybe you could be machalik a kli, but And this is Hashem, maybe we'll get there. That's an interesting shot. That's a good shot. The Tavish timers, I prefer not to go. That's all Shaila Cup, and the Migi Diskatzai. We didn't get there yet. I'm just talking about the Chefza right now. Now, by say, so there was a Maisa like this. Okay, Sunday, you guys need a little bit like Maisa. No, it doesn't work. It's Sunday. It's like, some of us left our parents behind in America. They go today to do all types of things on Sundays and things like that. It's like a day off, right? So you have to, and also in England or in South Africa, you probably play shuffleboard or something, so it's hard. So you need a story. So there's a story like this. There was a yeshiva where every Friday night they were stealing the cholent. You ever hear of such a yeshiva? Every Friday night they were stealing the cholent, right? So what could you do? So and today to bring the police, it's a whole parsha, So what could you do? The Bachram were eating the cholent every Friday night. They were stealing the cholent. So the cook got really all upset about this because because then the Hollywood would come to him with tainas, you're not making enough cholent, they're not making enough cholent. They're coming Friday night and they're eating the whole cholent. So what, when this was going on in a different yeshiva, they just made a separate cholent, for the Bachram to have on Friday night. That was this. But here, the cook, he had an idea. The cook's idea was like this. He knows, it's the famous story with there was a bacha that had milk. He bought a bag of milk, right? So what happened? He bought a bag of milk. The next day, another bacha took it. So the next day, he writes to him on the bag of milk, Gezel. Next day, somebody takes the milk again. Next day, he writes on the bag, he makes a picture of a little chihuahua. You're going to come back like this. Next day, he steals the milk. Comes back the next day, you're going to come back like, draws a picture of an Israeli guy without any hair and he's eating hummus. You're going to come back like a bowl of hummus, if you steal my milk. Kids, nothing's going. The last day, he writes on the bag of milk, Kallus, stop. Nobody's touching the milk, So what's about Gezel, that's already. So it's the same story. So the cook got the gevist, cholent already, Gezel, they're going to steal the cholent. They were told they're not allowed to take the cholent, but that's not going to work because cholent is cholent, right? So, so he did like this. He took a candle, he took a big candle, like a yard side candle, and he put it onto the cholent. He put it onto the lid of the cholent, so that now the Bachram came there Friday night and they see that there's on the cholent, on the lid, there's a candle over there. And so muksa, they're not going to move muksa. They all know muksa. Who's going to move I don't believe the story because I don't think there's any Bachram that know that the candle's muksa, but whatever. Anyways, I have to do mine to try to pretend like I believe the story. Anyways, so he put on the candle, and the story went around like all the Gedolim a few years ago. This was like the story. So he put a candle onto the cholent pot, this cook, and then Friday night, nobody took the cholent because, there was a candle there. You can't move the candle. So what's the problem? The problem is Shabbos day when the candle had melted away and everything. But now there was a muksa. The lid is muksa. And this has nothing to do with the svaras before, I don't think. Let's don together. But what did we see? We saw the svara of, the gizet semer, the old geezers that were on top of the cholent pot, right? So they had all that muksadika gizet semer on the lid. So we said over there that the lid is holding up the semer for carrot. The semer is being mishamish the pot. How's it being mishamish the pot? By making it warm. So therefore we said that's not being called the bosses. I'm being serving you. You're serving me, the lid says. You're serving me. So therefore, just a moment, I'm not bottled to you, you're bottled to me. So therefore you can pick up the lid and let the stuff fall off. So now, right away, says Rabbi Samuels, who derech hagav, throughout this week is the Rosh Koilel. If anybody wants to know, he's the Rosh Koilel. If it comes to Negev, if anybody needs to know, he's the Rosh Koilel. So the Rosh Koilel says, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? Over here, what was the reason why he put the fire on the cholent? He put the fire on the lid, right? Maybe it's the exact same thing. The fire is there to service, to be shomer, to eat nepis, to shomer the cholent, right? So I'm serving you. I'm holding up the lid. That's my job. I'm holding up the candle. I'm not holding up the candle. What I'm really doing is the candle's there, but it's not really so accurate, right? It's not exactly the same thing. What's the chilik? It's not exactly the same. Well, it's there to be dafka, to be holding it so that it should be there so that nobody should lift it up. I'm not sure if it's the exact same thing. What? Right? So he's putting it there, right? In order to what? In order, does it mamish the kavana? What? It's holding down the lid. Hey, does it sound like this? It sounds like this. It sounds like this, and maybe somebody brave will come on. It's not exactly the same. I mean, it's not like, you want to say it's like the rock on the paper. The rock is holding the paper and making the paper not fly away. So the candle's there because he knows when they see candle, they're not going to, in other words, what you're saying is like this in essence. You're saying that in essence, the Bachar Marmaratzin, in essence. In other words, because they're going to see it and they're going to think, ooh, fire, we're not allowed to lift it up. And it's really not true because they are allowed to lift it up because it's Tucker, you're serving me, so I'm not a boss. That's what you're saying. But maybe that would be a chiddush. The shayla is if if that's the only heter, so then it's a little bit scary. What other heter do we have? No, what other heter? Who knows? Oh, that's the last heter. What other heter that we spoke about? What other heter we spoke about? What? Sorry? Rabbeinu Tam. So the next heter is you could say like this. Rabbeinu Tam came along, and that's really Shulchan Aruch Siv Daled that we saw already. Shulchan Aruch Siv Daled says that if you put something on al das shisharu Shabbat Shabbos, you put it on the das, and it should be there for the first 5 hours of Shabbos. So Rabbeinu Tam said that it doesn't become a basis. Basis only is a comment that I plan on it being there the whole Shabbos, right? But if I don't plan on it being there the whole entire Shabbos, which is of course the case of here, he doesn't plan on it being there tomorrow. So then Rabbeinu Tam was meiko v'yei shoimrim that it's aser. Mishabru's psak and Zivkat Nechafalev. Mishabru says so. B'makim pseida, you could be saying azu. Okay, so for Shtei Tzachaviyah, we have one cooler right away. Is that this is a zikr makim pseida? L'chayir, we have Rabbeinu Tam. Does everybody agree we have Rabbeinu Tam? L'chayir does have Rabbeinu Tam. Rabbeinu Tam said that if it's a makim pseida, I mean, Charlotte ein lechav the ganze yeshiva, that's the same lechav makim pseida gadol mizais. So even in Voltagevein, the taka is a bus. It's only a bus to be there at the beginning of Shabbos. We could be saying on the sheet of Rabbeinu Tam, the guy governor that it's a pseida. Does everybody agree with that? Does everybody agree with that? I think there's a bir halacha. I need from the first. I only have my yeah. Shkech. I think it's a bit a lot for me. What? So plus the Rosh Koilo, right? Thank you. No, so the Rosh Koilo is sirif. You have that baby taka. I'm not 100% sure about that. This is being mishamish the fire. It's like. No, that's it. Is it really being mishamish? Bechefza, it's not. It's in lumdis. It is. Okay, but Rosh Koilo, so, but never says kedusha. No. But I don't know. In Reish Ayin Tes, in Siv Beis, in the Bir Lach over here, doesn't the Bir Lach Dibra Maschal Vafilu? He says like this. I'm not sure if I was thinking like this. Is this so doimit Rabbeinu Tam? Rabbeinu Tam's case is you have leichters on the table, and you know that the Meshach Shabbos, a guy is going to take it off, or that you have something on the table, and the Meshach Shabbos, you're gonna shake it off the table. Okay, here it's not the pshat. The etzim, you would keep it there the entire time of the life of the item. Is that better or worse? In other words, beds in the candle you would leave on top of the lid the entire time of the life of the item. Just that by default, by the time 5 hours goes by, so then the candle's going to melt. Is that the same as Rabbeinu Tam? Is that the same? What would be the side? Listen to the Bir Lach over here. The Bir Lach says like this. He says a lashon. Afilo l'das sefer truma and shintes. The sefer truma is this Rabbeinu Tam. This fear like basis loyave el if your das is yishar kol Shabbos. Hacha haloi haner oimid lihi kabois. The ner is going to go out. In kain haloi loy nasa menoira klal basis laner. Mikol makam hacha adifa. Do I read bedaito the salika iser? Okay, now loy nasa menoira klal basis. Mikol makam. Listen to this. Mashen came bezeh. Ein daitoi klal lisalek afilu al yidei goy ad sheyichbe. Memela nasa menoira basis laner mitchilas hashabbos umigu diskatzai. This is the loy kataz gamba prima. It's a little bit complicated. What he says, he gives you an idea here, a svara. The Bir Locha gives you a svara over here that maybe this is not something I plan on taking off. Maybe the lumdis of Rabbeinu Tam was the Seistishkin basis because I plan on taking it off. I'm not sure if this is different. You could say here he plans on it only being there for 5 hours. I don't have to take it off. It's going to disappear, right? So mistam it's not going to be make all Mr. Rabbeinu Tam, but it's not muchach. What? Sorry. The cook zikr doesn't want it there on Shabbos day. Yeah, the zikr doesn't want it there on Shabbos day. Because I'm saying it's not exactly the same thing.
It would be the same thing 3 hours in before you have to wait 5 hours. Disappear this way.
All right, let's get to business. Let's get there. Rabbi say, let's get to business. Listen to Ramah. Rabbi say, come to get in Ramah. Ramah says like this. Listen to Ramah. Ramah says, Im Adam hiniach dover muksa al shel chaveroi. Somebody takes muksa and puts it on his friend's item. Oh, now you're talking. Somebody comes Erev Shabbos and he takes, keep talking about the computer. He takes a computer, he puts it on your living room table. right? He puts a computer on your living room table. So now he just asks at your table. He just asks at your table. Says the Halakha Ramah, Loi Nase Basis. Ein Adam Oiser Dover She'einoi Shaloi. Ho Ein Adam Oiser Shel Chaveroi Shaloi Midaitai. This is in Or Zarua, I think, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, it's quoting here in Or Zarua. And this is, Mishabura brings down over here. As you've gotten Chavhei, Chavav. He says, Afilu Madavar Muksu, Gam Kein Shel Chaveroi, it doesn't matter. No such thing. What do you do? Says the Mishabura. So you can shake it off. You can shake it off. While it's there, he says there's still a level of a basis because there's an item there. There's muksa there, right? So he says you're allowed to shake it off. I guess you'll shake off your friend's computer. We'll have to see if you have to do that or whatever. But Kapan does state the Mishabura. Mishabura says, "Ein adam oyser davar she'ein shaloi." Where was this Negaya? So I mentioned once a case. The case. Who remembers the case? The chair. The chair case was like this. The chair case was that there was a person who on Erev Shabbos needed to light a menorah, and he was in a hotel. So he took a chair and he put it by his door, and then he lit the candle over there, whatever. And then the next day, Shabbos morning, so he just took a chair from the hotel and he put it there by the door. The next day, Shabbos morning, he sees that chair was gone. That chair's gone, and all the chairs were stacked up together. Right? So the goyim went and they took all the chairs, including that chair, and now there's 250 chairs of the hotel or whatever. And there's one chair there, which is moksa. What are you going to say? Batal b'roiv. Maybe that chair is batal b'roiv. So we said at the time, you can't say batal b'roiv, maybe because it's a davar sheish l'matir, and just wait till after Shabbos. That's a fight. But everybody say, anyways, you can't say batal b'roiv. You all know there's a concept known as a davar shebeminyan. When something is counted, so then you don't say batal b'roiv. When you buy chairs, do you buy chairs by a group of chairs? No, you buy an amount of chairs. There's no such thing as buying, a bunch of chairs, right? You buy 12 chairs, you buy 10 chairs, you buy 15 chairs. Each chair has a value, or each 10 chairs have a value, or whatever it is. But there's no such thing as buying like just a bunch of chairs. So therefore, this is called the davar shebeminyan. And once it's a davar shebeminyan is not batal. So therefore, this isn't batal. It's not batal. So now what? What can we be saimach on? So right away, we have Rabbeinu Tam. Right? Now that we spoke about the Shaila back then, but we didn't speak it out with these concepts. We have Rabbeinu Tam. This guy put the candle there on the chair. He knew a goy is going to take it off, right? He didn't think the goyim in the hotel are going to leave it there. He assumed they're going to take it off. So now you have Rabbeinu Tam, the Makim Seder, 250 chairs of a hotel. That's probably Makim Seder. So we have one kula, Rabbeinu Tam. What else do we have now? So now we have here, Ein Adam Oyser Davar She'ein Shlo. Is that true over here? The hotel lets him take the chair, right? The hotel lets him take the chair, but does the hotel let him answer the chair? Like, how does this work exactly, right? The hotel would let him take a chair. First of all, I don't even know if the hotel would let him take a chair and put a candle on it. I don't know. I don't think it doesn't sound like something that the hotel would allow. I don't know. Maybe, probably not. But if that's the case, then for sure it's also what he did. Then it's another Moshe. Then it's for sure, not going to answer what he did because it's another Moshe. What about if the hotel where they don't get involved. They don't care. Do take chairs. Don't take chairs. But like once they would realize that this would answer all the chairs, then they for sure wouldn't have given it to you for that purpose. Let's say you have a chair. They give you a chair in your room. So when you're renting a room, you're also renting a bed, and you're also renting what's that thing on the what's it called on the desk table over there, like a microwave. You're renting the microwave, right? You're renting the bathroom, the towels. You're renting. You have to give them back. You're renting the whatever. Yeah, I'm even young, but you're renting. So one of the things you're renting is the chair in the room. Does the hotel give you the chair to do what you want with the whole entire Shabbos? Right? So okay, this is a little bit more complicated because that was the chair from the room. Right? That's why my example. So he took the chair from his room and he wouldn't put it there. And let's say it matches all the chairs in the hotel. So now that chair, which they give you for the whole Shabbos, it's yours. You rent that chair. You can do what he wants with it. But now it's going to get there and it's going to answer up all their chairs. Could you shout and say they don't give you the chair, which is going to cause them tsaris and answer up all their chairs? How do you say? What do you think? Well, someone told me when they told the child from Nissen Karel, that was his big nibuk, his big tzad. His big tzad was, even if they give you the chair and you can do what you want with the chair, but it can't be that they're going to give you the chair, the kai govna, that it's going to mess them up. They never would give it to you klape that. Like a gather of like an umdanaza. Volt gevein, if they would know that this chair is going to now answer up all their chairs, they wouldn't give you the chair. Sorry? What do you mean? No, but what happens if the next day everybody tells us I'm not touching the chair because they know halacha? That's the case. Yeah, the different people are staying there. So now they would the hotel now say, no, we never gave it to you. But someone told me that when they told this Shiloh to Reb Nissen, it's when I spoke out this Shiloh back then, somebody told me Reb Nissen. I didn't find Reb Nissen, I don't think. Who, Reb Nissen? Reb Nissen went to a hotel? What's he talking about? So then maybe they wouldn't care. And they probably would ask her. So, yeah, Mistama, then Mistama, I guess. I mean, but... Okay, let's see a few cases over here. Mishnah Berurah says over here in Sivkot and Chav Zayin. Let's build from the Mishnah Berurah and then go back to our cases. Mishnah Berurah Sivkot and Chav Zayin, he says like this. Let's say I did a favor for my friend, right? Erev Shabbos, I saw that his give me a good example of a favor. Well, he sees the candles. He sees that the candles of on the living room table are not doing good. He sees that they're about to fall over or something like that. So he goes and he takes it and he puts it on. Where is he going to put it? He puts it on. I'm going to find a case which is somewhat normal. So he takes the candles. I got a case. He finds. See, it's hard to find the case. I'll show you why. The person put the candles in a place on Erev Shabbos. And then somebody walks in, he sees the candles are right by the drapes and they're about to catch fire and it's no good. So he takes it and he puts it onto the table instead. So now, is this the Mishnah Berurah? Mishnah Berurah says, Im asa kain l'toivas chaveira. I did it for my friend's benefit. Umin astam nichalei. Kigoin natal ruven kliv emido bibayt yoim tachas aner bebeis shemen kedei sheyipol aner l'toicha v'lo yitei ataleika. V'nafal aner l'toicha kodim ben hashmashes. V'ebetoicha adacher ben hashmashes. Nasa kliv became a basis. Kain kasev harbe achreinim. The Derech Chaim says that for sure here you can be mitzvah for bein otam. And again, this case is a little bit complicated. It's hard to find cases where there's nichusa sometimes because, if the guy already put it somewhere, right? So then it's true, he might not want it to be there, but if you put it in a place, you messed me up, right? Let's say my case. I put it in a place and the person comes into the house, he sees this by the drapes, he sees it by the curtains, he says, no, this is crazy, it's going to cause a fire. So it's true. It's nicha to me that you shouldn't take it there, but I don't want you putting it on my table because now I can't move my table. How do you look at that? I don't know if that's the Mishnah Berurah's case. Mishnah Berurah's case is uminastam nichale b'zeh. If you did something that you could assume minastam he does want, right? So then says the Mishnah Berurah that becomes a basis. Okay, it's hard to be conveyed what exactly is minastam. Maybe as we go along, we'll have cases, right? Let's see. Let's try and work this out here. Shutfin. Let's say there's two shutfin. We'll see in a minute. Maybe you're married to one of the shutfin. Right? You have two shutfin. That mistama, if one of them does something with the kli, part of his kli, he has a right to do we say that he doesn't have a right on, very difficult cases, this case. Let's see what cases are clear first. What's clear? The Das Torah talks about hefker. Let's say a person has an item that's just hefker. He takes a hefker item and he puts it down. So the Rav Nissen Kallus was mesupik about this. He declares in the 164th page in Chelik Gimel. He says, do we say that hefker there's no bailim stopping me or preventing me? There's no bailim being maneya me from what I'm doing. So therefore I could do what I want. Or no, you need a positive bailim in order to be kaveya the item's status. So what? Let's say that that's not to be kaina. Let's say das first das not to be kaina. So Rav Nissen is mistopic about this. The das Torah is mekel. Das Torah attack on this case. He says first that a that no one is preventing me. So then I have the right to be kaveh on an item of hefker. But Rav Nissen is misupik. It's interesting. Seems to be nothing here is clear. What about a kid? Since Shabbos, I had to go to one of my children has like a drawer under their bed, right? So I was giving a shiur about Rav Chaim Kanievsky. So one of my kids told me that under the drawer, they think there's a book there about Rav Chaim Kanievsky, right? And in my son, one of my little child's drawer, there's a sefer there was found there of Rav Chaim Kanievsky under the, right? So I opened up the drawer and I found every muksa item in the world inside this drawer, right? Every book. And also there was Rav Chaim Kanievsky's book there also. Right? Now, Rav Chaim Kanievsky's book, you could say maybe that the drawer, that we'll have to learn. Maybe we don't go basar shavius and value. Maybe we go basar, something that has Shabbos to use. Or Chaim's book, maybe it becomes a basar of davar aser, davar mutter, and the davar mutter is worth more. Okay, but then I had another shot. What b'chlal does my daughter, who's 8 years old, does she have the ability to be kaveya that this drawer? Let's say there was no Rav Chaim book in there. Was I over on muksa when I pulled out the drawer? Or is it just tiltum in a tzad, to see if maybe there's something in here? So tiltum in tzad, but let's say, was I over? If Lutzer der Chaim book wouldn't be there, do we say she's a cotton? She's a cotton, so she has no das. Just like you understand, ain't the moiser davasheni shalai, right? So she's a cotton, she has no das. What do you say? So you say it's her draw. It's her draw. So what? So what? So what? Not sure. But that was never done. That means there was no das. I saw that this question, the das Torah, just listen one moment. The das Torah in the end of Sif Daled is Mekel. Okay? Wait, listen closely. He's Mekel on a cotton. I admit it's not my case. He's Mekel on a cotton that places something. He says a cotton not that can das, and a cotton's Mekel. And then I saw in the Orcha Shabbos that he says like the Olam is saying here. He says that if the child, I looked this up on Shabbos, I wanted to see Taka's interesting case. He says if the child has a draw, or something, and you allow the child to do it, so then you give over your das to the kid, and you give a heskim to the child's das. That's what he said. I'm not so sure. Is that so pashut? I don't know. Is that so pashut? I mean, the kid has no das. That means his action was done without das, and I just don't care. I don't know if it means that I have a positive das, that I want that item there. I'm not sure. I don't know. What? Oh, there was no Seder in this draw, but I don't know. What? How far do you take that? There were things in this draw that I don't want in this draw, right? Like, for example, the Chaim book, No, it's a good example. What in the world? I asked her, what is it doing in here? She has all these geschmacka pictures. So she has like other, she has that's where she keeps it there. And it's so nice. We found my daughter's wedding album there. It was Baruch Hashem, which we haven't found in 8 months, in Pesach probably, right? No, Baruch Hashem, we found it. So you understand, I don't know, it was a good dogma. I don't know how much I'm masking to what's going on inside her drawer. I just don't care. Some things I care. The only kpeda I have is was nicht zu sein, what not to be there. I have a kpeda maybe. I don't know if I have I'm not sure. You see how nothing is clear? Something's clear. What's the check? Because it's Sunday, Mr. Hamel, because we're supposed to be like playing volleyball or something. No, I don't know. All right. What? I hear that's sort of what Rabbi Nissim is saying over here, not Rabbi Krel's, right? It's sort of what you're saying. I don't know. I'm not convinced. I don't know. You're right. If it's not there, it's going to be all over the place or whatever. But I just proved to you that in her drawer there are things I dafka don't want there. So how could you tell me that there's an ichus on what's in there once I showed you not like that? I don't know. I know my first reaction was like the Olam's reaction, which is Rosh Hashanah. That was my first reaction. Right? But I'm asking it should be there, but I'm not sure. I'm not convinced. I don't know. What do you say? No. But it's all there. What? That's a shachach. If that's its mukim, we're going to learn. That doesn't have a shachach. A magira, a drawer, is a mukim that you bedafka store things. You're not going to say shachach of them. I will see. I don't think you're going to say shachach of them. I tried that also. I don't think so. What? I said, Mamish forgot I hear, but if this is the place where you store things, they're saying Ad Kedekach, you bedafka want it there. You're saying that boss? But you want things that much. I forget. I agree with them. That you bedafka don't want it to be all over the place. You want it to be at least somewhere. If I say Vaito, it's looking that I have an ichusa, I don't know. A wife. Look, hopefully we'll be able to, after all this unclarity, to say something clear, right? What's going to be? Everything is not clear. What do we do if everything's not clear? It'd be terrible. Let's see. So what about a wife? Is the wife allowed to just, whatever the wife does, is that called, you're going to say that too? Whatever the wife does, that's an ichusa because you want her to be cleaning up on Erev Shabbos, right? So the nichusa that wherever she puts up, so that means, just listen closely. Listen closely to what you just said. This is a big need in the Das Torah. In Sif Daled has in Dibra Maskal Harav, Rabbi said. In Dibra Maskal Harav, he has a whole meeting about this. And again, the same idea. I saw that some Achrayim, they discussed this. What's the status of a wife, when she's cleaning up and she placed something there, did she make a bus? You own it. The Das Torah has a whole chedushim. He wants to say it's totally a nichse malug. I'm not even going to try on you guys. When you guys heard the word nichse malug in Ksuvis, you turn the daf, right? With Barzel with Bucker Barzel. You know what I'm talking about, right? You got a whole need to know there. All the other Achrayim, they want to say things like, well, it depends on the things that, it's really her job and whatever. They say these types of, I don't know. Can I ask you a question? By saying, you guys are young married, so maybe you're not going to, you're not going to know the answer, maybe to my question, but not sure. Let's see. young married fellows. What? Who? Right? No, Rabbi Marcos, you're already married a few years, I think. No, he's him. I'm supposed to pick one because he's married the shortest in the Kallus, or no? What's from Stender? Sorry. But no, I'm saying, so you might not know what I'm talking about. Rabbi Markowitz is not what I'm talking about. But there comes a point in marriage, sometimes, not my wife, there comes a point in marriage sometimes when she's going to put things in a place. It reminds me of the story of Mrs. Zalman. It's a famous story of Mrs. Zalman. One time was by Rabbi Levine. He used to go every day to daven mincha, where Rabbi Levine would give a shiur to Balabatim. So every day he would give a shiur to Balabatim. Mrs. Zalman would come in, and Mrs. Zalman would daven mincha there, and he would sit down in the back and learn until mincha time. The kids there was somebody in the shiur that wasn't being so good to his wife. So somebody came to Rabbi Levine and asked him to give musar to the person, to give him a little musar. So Rabbi Levine said he'll give a little bit of a shmooze. Maybe everybody can get chizik from it. So at the end of the shiur that he would give to the Balabatim, he gave a little musar of how you got to be good to your wife and this and that. Kids afterward, this is on the Meltzer. He comes over to Rabbi Levine. He said, Rabbi, the biskerech, the badaftas in front of everybody. You're 100% right, but you didn't have to do it in front of everybody. I said, no, Chalilach, I didn't mean you. No, it's me. Next time, you just tell me and I'll be better. So afterward, Rabbi Levine, the other guy was saying, oh, it's a good thing, this is it's a good thing, Doc. Afterward, Rabbi Levine went over to ask Mechila from Mrs. Zalman. So he said to him, let me tell you, I needed the chizik. What did Rav Zalman do wrong? He said that he writes the Sefer Even Ezel, and he has dreadful handwriting. So Bela Hinda, that was his wife, Bela Hinda. So Bela Hinda, she would write over the Even Ezels. All the Even Ezels that we have today is because Bela Hinda sat there and wrote over all the Zalmans, all the Even Ezel. Anyways, so sometimes I'm reading the shtickle, and sometimes she puts a period here where there's supposed to be not a period, a comma here, and this for mach the ganze shtickle. So I'll say, oi, the whole shtickle, the whole shtickle is messed up, right? And maybe, maybe she feels bad. Maybe she'll feel bad. She hears me say that, and so I'm going to be better to her. That was what he said. Okay. Anyways, Mrs. Zalman had one day he said to his wife, he wants to do something special for her. Some say it was after this story. He wants to do something special for her. So he wants to learn with her Ein Yankov. And Yankov, the Agadah, whatever. So he's going to learn just with his wife, Ein Yankov. So the other ladies in the neighborhood found out that, a shiur in Ein Yankov from Mrs. Zalman Meltzer, because she would tell them that she learns now with her husband, Mrs. Zalman, right? So one day, Mrs. Zalman walks in to learn with his wife in the kitchen, and there they are, all the Yerushalmi ladies over there, right? It's like 50 bowling balls, in the kitchen of Mrs. Zalman. No, that I know what I mean, those things. There they are. They're all sitting there, Mrs. Zalman Meltzer. So Mrs. Zalman said, no, this shiur is just for you. This shiur is just for you. If they want to share, give a separate shiur. So Mrs. Zalman wound up giving shiur to his wife, he gave a shiur to them. But that was Mrs. Zalman. Anyway, why did I say that story? Anybody know? 1 second. So wait. So Amol, it's a Ken Zayin, Amol, not my wife, or Mrs. Zalman's wife, right? Amol, it's a Ken Zayin, afraid that, you'll come into your room, you have a room you learn or something like that, or, you come by your stender, or you'll come by your svarim, and you'll see that there's a chveis, like a Rabbi Kiveger over here, and there's a Rabbi Bear over there, and there's a Mrs. Zalman over there, and what'd she do over here? Not my wife, right? Or you come in sometimes and you'll find things on the table. Did anybody know what I'm talking about? No, you know what I'm talking about? You know what I'm talking about? Okay. All the mun in the world isn't going to help you on this one, right? Getting an aliyah from mun, that can't help you over here, not there, right? So, sometimes you'll come in and she put this here and she put that there and this, and sometimes it happens, like let's say this Shabbos, like this Friday night, like for example, right? So what was this Friday night? So I have a stender. I used to have a stender. This Friday night I didn't have a stender, or maybe I did. This Friday night, so I come into my room after, when I sit and learn after the meal, and I come to take my stender. That's mit der Stände, nach the challenge, not the challenge, nach the meal, just like geschmack, to sit with a bit of liver, and then I come to my stender, and there's the stender. Unbelievable how the whole week I was talking about this computer, the whole entire week I was talking about this computer, and where's the computer? On the stender. on this computer, on the stender, because my wife said that she wanted to clean off the table for Shabbos. So she cleaned off the table in my room, right? And she, who knows what my table looks like, right? Yeah, you know, the table. And now it's clean. She made Seder there. My therapist said it's good to talk about it, right? She made Seder on my table, dafka on Erev Shabbos. Interesting, when I, had gone to the mikveh for the first time in about 10 months, from this. And Baruch Hashem, the room is very clean, right? And my wife had to find a new place to live. And on the stender is the computer. I said there, why would you put the stender on the computer? Let's see, maybe shachach. I think maybe she forgot it there. She was just, no, because listen to the lumdus. She says, no, because look, now you have that whole, the bed on the end of the table over there, right? Now you have the whole area on the table that you could learn. I said, Geveret, why did Hashem make a stender? For stender, she said to hold the computer. Right? So now, is she in control? What are you going to say now? Now you understand I didn't know what to do. It's not shachach, right? It's not shachach. It wasn't shachach. So what is it? It's she held that this should be there. I was begging her, no, you forgot it there. No. Now you have this whole area to learn. You forgot. No. You understand? So I don't know. So she can't answer my stender, right? Grata, there's a now sign on the door, right? She's not allowed in. Right? No one's allowed into the room. But until that point, that case is a very good case because she's not allowed into the room, right? No, it's not her room, and it's not her place to go and clean my room. It's not, that's what I tell, right? What do you say? It's a difficult case, no? But it's a hard case. Not like in the kitchen that you could say that's where she belongs. Mm-hmm. Yeah, like the same thing. What would happen? I come into her kitchen and I put on top of like her on top of something. I put some muktzah items, right? In the kitchen, I say, you don't belong here. Belongs to shtul, right? What are you doing in my kitchen? Right? She'll have a sign on after Shabbos, my kitchen, right? And I have my room. So I don't know. This is a hard case. So nothing's clear today. It's very hard. I don't know. That called Eina D'Moiseh Davashin Ishlai, right? Can a bacher ask her a stender? Sorry. Can a bacher aser a stender? Like the stender in yeshiva, and bacher, he puts on everything in the world. He puts on a stender. What did he put there? So let's say he put a packet of cigarettes, and you'll go with the tzad, just tobacco. Yeah, tobacco, because tobacco itself is not yet a kli. We said it's cigarettes might be a kli. No, but that might be a kli and whatever. That could be a kli that you can make a fire out of. It might be a kli. Okay, let's say tobacco. Tobacco is a very normal thing that a bacher would put on a stender. There he was. No, it's not even a funny case. Thursday night in the base medrash amol. So he's late in the base medrash Thursday night, and the male he left his tobacco there. What? Shachach. What? Shachach. What? So recorder, but I got to find something which is a klish matali iser. Smartphone. No, none of them have. None of them have. And it's also shachach. Because he knows for sure. Okay, so, I'm sorry, these guys don't know what a smartphone is. I'm sorry, I'll explain to you guys after, right, on the chat. Yeah, I can find it. What? A blank paper. There's a tzad, very good. That's not a bad case. It's also going to be shachach usually. No, that's shachach. Not a case of shachach, fine. The blank paper is a big shayla in the place, and we spoke out once. Is it a kli? I was night it's a klish makdal yeser though. Well, I was night it's more klish makdal yeser. Some say it's a, okay, you know what, Rabbi said. Let's say he has a chashav, a piece of like stationery or something. We said that's for sure chazarin kiss. Something he doesn't waste. What? But e-cigarette also might be a klish makdal yeser. Might be. I want to find an evil muktzah. You can't move an answer. What? Matches also is a shtickle tzad. There's a tzad out there. I got to hold it. Maybe there's a tzad. It's a klish makdal yeser. I want to find something which is an evil muktzah, but a stationery. Rabbi say. Stationary, okay? He has a nice piece of stationery, and he has his stender, that he learns on. It's his makom. That's where he davens. That's where he learns. That's whatever. And he has a stationery there. Erev Shabbos, he was learning over there, right? And here, I'll make it even more aggressive. This is his place, okay? And he didn't want anybody using this stender over Shabbos, Okay, because he doesn't get after Shabbos. Sometimes these guys have colds and everything, and and what goes on top of the stender, what goes on under the stender, and whatever. So he didn't want anybody touching that stender, and it's not his stender. It doesn't, he borrows it from the shiva. So he puts on the stender a piece of paper, mucks of paper of a stationery. Does he have a right to do that? So I asked this question to Rabbi Nissen Kallus, and I had a great pleasure because I see that Rabbi Nissen Taka in the third volume, the 156th page, asked his Shaila. I wonder, maybe it was me. I don't know. I was the one that asked his Shaila, so it could be the same person. And he said the same answer there. He said that this was that idea I told you before, that Rabbi Nissen said, at least over here, I heard it from him, klape this, not klape the other thing we spoke about. That Rabbi Nissen said a svara that I only give you the rishus of the stender klape this. Remember, I spoke about that svara that somebody also said klape hotel. He said he heard from Rabbi Nissen klape hotel, which I didn't find in print. This, which I asked, I heard him say, that he said the shiva gives it to you to use. They don't give it to you to aser. You don't have a right to aser the stender. Like Azar means svara. You don't have a right to use the stender at kama it's going to aser. Maybe it's a little bit easier to hear it over here. We don't give you the stender to put a piece of paper on it to aser other people from using it, like as a vite. That far, maybe not. What? Excuse me, what? So then maybe my daughter's draw, I give it not that she should aser. It's a little bit worse because I give it to her, like, the stender could be switched around and things like that. Here it's like hers. Here you have to come on to a bit less aggressive svar that maybe the pshat is that bechlal, she doesn't have das, and her das is not kaveh and gamarnu. And then there's no das, so there was nothing placed with das, right? Any problem there with the Zionists? Are those Zionists or no? Is that, it's not in there? Huh? No, okay. I don't know. What happened? Oh my goodness, Erwin, what happened? Okay. All right, let's be Messiah. Because we have two cases. Tachlis, after all of this, you learned today a lot, right? You learned today, what'd you learn today? You learned today that, you learned you can't be Saimach on Summit. That was very important. You learned that. You learned today that the Shiloh with the urn, not so simple, and Rabbi Falk was Mekel, and I hear that started to be Mekel, but Klape our Sugi, we said it was. You learned today about Rabbeinu Tam and Peseda, and you learned today the Sugi of Einu Damoisa Davashen Shloi, which we had to talk about the cases, which a lot of things came out not clear. What? Come again? You have to be nice to your wife, right? Unless she goes into your office without Rishus. But it's a Tachlis Gerat, these last two cases. Let's see. So the case of the chair in the Friday night so let's see, Friday night in a hotel, and he took the chair. So you have that svara. You don't have a right to ask the chair. Maybe you have that svara. They don't give you, probably, if you're not allowed to be putting it on bichlal because they don't want fire on their chairs, so then for sure it's another ma'aser davar she'ein shaloi because you have no right to use the chair in the first place, right? Nafkamina will be in your own house. No, Rabbi Makmal. When you had your chair, you put it there b'dafka, and let's say that chair would get mixed together, nobody would realize, and somehow that chair got mixed with 25 other chairs. So then you can't say another ma'aser davar she'ein shaloi, right? And then that chair is the chair that you chose. Sorry? Doesn't matter if you know. I don't know if that matters. What's nafkamina? It's not yours. So what? It's not yours. It's not yours. It's not like a hefker. It's not yours. Where everybody said, and what about the case with the cholent? Does the cook have a right to ask the cholent on the bakram? Well, if he has to cook, he for sure hustle. You know that cook. You know what I'm talking about, right? The guy who looks like he's always like pregnant and does and labor dick, right? You know that cook, right? He holds that he owns the cholent, but it's not true. He doesn't have a right to ask the yeshiva's cholent. So that's an easy case. What? They don't give him a shus to ask the cholent. They don't give him a shus. They give him a shus to ask the cholent. I mean, what? I don't think they give him a shus to ask the cholent. What? What's that? But we have a few tirufim. We have the Rosh Kollel. He wanted to say you have maybe Rabbeinu Tam here. Maybe you have the svara that it's being the Rosh Kollel wanted to say the other svara that maybe it's being mishamish the lid and not the other way around. Maybe you have Rabbeinu Tam over here. Maybe you have Rabbeinu Tam because it's not going to be the Rosh Hashanah. Plus, it's probably possible this is another ma'aser davar she'ein shaloi. You have a lot here. Bekitzer, all right, we'll start tomorrow. Bez Hashem. Rabbi doesn't have a chavrusa. Should come to me. Rabbi say the kollel tomorrow and Bez Hashem. Business as usual. We're here in Bez Hashem. But just like I said, keep your eyes out for emails and things like that. Keep your eyes out. You never know what it'll be.
What's the story?
What?
I want to change tomorrow.